Good time. Okay. Alhamdulillah. Honest is good. Ali, we weren't here that class. Okay. Okay. So let me briefly run through what is difficult about this section with you guys, and then we're going to try and contextualize that through Qasas an-Nabiyeen. So, lesson 1.8. Why is this not going live? Yeah, it should go live auto. Okay, it's live. Lesson 1.8 is called Al-Huruf al-Mushabbahatu bil-Fi'l. What is Al-Huruf al-Mushabbahatu bil-Fi'l? As the name suggests, they're huruf. Huruf is the plural of what? Okay, so these are harfs, but they're mushabbaha, they resemble a fi'l. They resemble verbs. And how is it that they resemble verbs? In short, when you have a jumla fi'liya, listen to the jumla fi'liya that I'm saying. If I said to you, Daraba Muhammadun Khalidan, the verb daraba is the cause of two separate parts after it having the rafa and nasab state. When I say daraba Muhammadun, why is Muhammadun in the rafa'at state? He's the doer. And why is Khalidan in the nasab state? He's the object. So the verb daraba was the reason that two words had two different states. Make sense? Inna has the same effect. As you all know, inna does what to its ism? Mansub. And inna does what to its khabar? Marfu', right? So, in the same way that a verb can modify the state of two words, so too does inna. That's why we say it's a harf that resembles a verb. As it controls two words' grammars, and it gives both of those words a different grammatical function. Make sense, Safi? Yeah? Somewhat? Now look carefully at al-huruf al-mushabbaha bil-fi'l. These are called al-huruf al-mushabbaha bil-fi'l because, like a fi'l muta'addi, don't worry about muta'addi right now, like a fi'l, they also govern two words. You guys understand what govern here means? They change the state of two words, right? They affect two words. These huruf appear before a mubtada and a khabar. Anytime you have the word inna is going to come before a mubtada and a khabar. Inna is never going to come right before a verb. You can't say inna daraba. You can't say inna nasara. You can say inna Muhammadan nasara or inna Muhammadan alimun. But inna and its sisters will always appear before what we typically consider a mubtada. What is a mubtada again? Subject. And what type of sentence is a mubtada in? A jumla ismiya. So meaning that subject must be a noun. It must be a noun. As a jumla ismiya, that subject must be a noun. Alright, so I've already told you the effect. Such a particle, meaning inna and its sisters, they cause the mubtada to be in the nasab state, and that mubtada is then known as ismu inna, and the khabar to be in the rafa'at state, and that khabar is then known as khabru inna. Let's look at inna and its sisters. We have inna, which I've introduced you to, which means certainly, verily, indeed. Example that they've given is what? Inna Allaha Alimun. Indeed, verily, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is all-knowing. Good. Its sister, which has the same exact effect as anna, which means that. Let's read the sentence that they've given as an example for anna. A'rifu anna al-imtihana qareebun. A'rifu is a verb. What does a'rifu mean? I know. Anna means what again? That. Al-imtihana means what? The exam. Qareebun means what? Near. So I know that the exam is near. So anna here is coming before a mubtada and a khabar too. Because what's the mubtada and khabar after anna? Al-imtihanu qareebun. Isn't that a sentence? Yes. The test is near. So it is coming before jumla ismiya, even though it's in the middle of a larger sentence. Make sense? Alright. Let's go to number 3. Another sister of inna, which is, which word? Ka'anna. Don't confuse that with kana. It looks similar. This is ka'anna. Ka'anna means what? As if, or it is as though, it is as if. And the example here is كأن البيت جديد, which means what?
As though the house is new.
It is as though the house is new. It's 50 years old, but it is as though it's new. Right?
Someone said Hadidun.
What?
What? Someone said Hadidun.
Hadidun. Oh, okay. That says Jadidun. It is as though the house is new. Let's look at number 4. Another sister of inna, which is what? Lakinna. Lakinna means but or however. The example given here is what? البيت جديد. What is البيت جديد? لكن الأثاث قديم. What word is being changed here because of لكن? Athatha is given the and
Qadimun is given
the rafa'at state. Very good. Number 6, which is the 5, which is later, means what? If only, I wish. Later is used when you wish for something that you're not gonna get.
So this is the one that's like impossible.
It's the impossible, right? So late. The example given is what? Laytu shababa a'idun, which means I wish youth would return. If only youth would return. Okay? It's not happening. That's why we use the word layta in this example. And layta is having the same effect as inna, ash-shababa. We don't say layta shababu. And lastly, la'alla, which is used for hope. La'alla, being used for hope, informs you that there's a possibility and you are expecting that possibility by keeping high hopes. What's the example here? لعل الامتحان سهل. What does that mean? The exam's easy, right? Here's a grammatical analysis which we've already done. We have inna, which is al-harf al-mushabbaha bil-fi'l. We have Allah in this example, which is ismu inna. We have alimun, which in this example would be khabru inna. That's how we do the grammatical breakdown.
What would that hold? Would that be a moral inna or something, or?
It's actually a jumla,
Inna?
a jumla ismiya.
Within.
Yeah.
Because you kind of have sentences within sentences.
Yeah. This is just one sentence itself. Sure. There's some differences between inna and anna. Who can remember me what anna means again?
That.
And what does inna mean again?
About.
Not about. Certainly, indeed. So, what are the differences in the usage of inna and anna? Number 1, inna is generally at the beginning of a sentence. Anna is generally in the middle of a sentence. Because you don't start a sentence with that. Right? I know that. I hope that. Etc. You don't start a sentence with that. I can't say ashhadu anna la, because la is not an ism.
They say in.
Then we say an. An, we say ashhadu an la, but because of tajweed,
An is ain nun.
hamza nun. Okay, and an is really a short form of anna, which inshallah we'll get into later. It means the same thing. It means the same thing. But I can't say anna grammatically because anna has to come before an ism.
So it is anna, but it's changing to something
But it's
else.
changing to an so that it's not forced to come before an ism.
I got it.
Which we'll learn about that stuff. Okay? So I hope that you guys understand the benefit of why we can't say anna or inna before anything other than an ism. They have to come before isms. So I can't say ka'anna daraba. It is as though he hit. I can't say that. You guys understand? In English that makes sense. Ka'anna daraba in Arabic doesn't make sense. But in English it makes sense. In English I can say, it is as though he hit me. But in Arabic I can't say ka'anna daraba. I have to insert what after ka'anna? An ism. So I can say ka'annahu. It is as though he.
Is it okay if it's implied?
No.
What
It can't be hidden.
Can't be hidden.
It can't be hidden. We have to have a noun explicitly after inna and its sisters. Yes.
Even if it comes from a sentence before it. Is
Yeah, you can. You have to put it.
So you can only use inna and anna before name, for name, right?
Before a noun. Before a noun. Any noun. Doesn't have to be before a name. I can say inna rajula. Indeed the man. I can say that. Inna al-walada. Indeed the boy. And so on and so forth. Now, inna in the Arabic language, there are two instances when it comes in the middle of a sentence. Don't worry about number 2 right now. Worry about number 1. Okay? Basically, whenever you're quoting someone else. So I can tell you, he told me, indeed the weather is nice.
I see. Yeah.
So in reality, when I tell you, he told me, indeed the weather is nice. Where's the word inna in this sentence?
It's attached to that.
Huh?
That.
No. I said he told me, indeed the weather is nice.
In the middle.
Indeed, right? So I just told you previously that inna doesn't come at the middle of a sentence.
Right.
But in this case, it does come in the middle of a sentence because in reality, I'm quoting someone's beginning of their sentence.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, so after it is a sentence. Anyway.
Yeah, in reality, when I say he told me, indeed, his sentence started at indeed, even though my sentence started at
He told.
Okay,
he
that
told
makes
me.
perfect sense.
Makes sense? So in the Quran, we have examples of that too. قال إنه يقول إنها بقرة صفراء. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us a story when Prophet Musa alayhi salam is asked, okay, what color is it? The cow, right? So Prophet Musa alayhi salam responds, إنه يقول, indeed he is saying, إنها, indeed it. So we have indeed in this instance in the middle of the sentence because Prophet Musa alayhi salam is quoting Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
So is this a rare occurrence though, or is this...
Yeah, it's not too often that you'll see this. But this book is a more in-depth Nahu book, so you will see a lot of rare instances. And like, it's important to know because you might learn a rule and then you'll read the Quran and you'll be like, well, that's not how it's working. So you gotta know the exceptions. All right.
So I'm sorry. Inna is still
And a noun, there's still a noun
noun is the
after it.
pronoun.
It's the pronoun, yes. That's right. All right, the khabar. Here's another thing to know about inna. The khabar of inna doesn't have to be one word. The khabar of inna can be a whole sentence. So, for example, inna zaydan ummuhu salihatun. Inna zaydan ummuhu salihatun. If you look at this sentence, what's the ism of inna here?
Yeah, that's something in there. Right?
So what does inna zaydan mean? Okay, now the khabar here is a whole jumla ismiya. Look at the khabar here. Ummuhu salihatun. What does that mean?
Mother is part of
His mother.
His mother.
Pious.
Isn't that a sentence on its own?
Yes.
His mother is pious is now the predicate or the khabar of the inna in the beginning of this sentence.
But that won't show Rafa say, but there's Rafa in that.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
see what you're saying now. Yeah.
So basically, you won't see the rafa'at state because this is a whole sentence.
Okay.
Does that make sense? How would we translate inna zaydan ummuhu salihatun?
Indeed, Zayd's mother is a righteous woman, or she is righteous.
Yeah, so in English we just say indeed Zayd's mother is pious, but in Arabic literally it says indeed Zayd, his mom is pious.
Right.
His mother is pious. So this is an example where the khabar of inna or anna or one of its sisters is not one word. It could be a whole jumla. Okay? Alright. Example 2 they've given. Can you guys read the second example? What does that mean?
Indeed, Zayd ate the food.
Okay, indeed Zayd, and then akala means he ate. So indeed Zayd, he ate the
I see.
food.
So actually, the ta'ama is the khabar.
Yes, akala ta'ama is a whole what?
Jumla fi'liya.
It's a jumla fi'liya. Because akala ta'ama on its own, does that make sense? Could I
Yeah.
say akala ta'ama?
Because I was wondering why is it not akala ta'amu, but it's not.
That's right. Yeah, because the he inside there is the doer. Did I pass this up? I think I passed it up. Alright, I got it. So inna Zaydan akala ta'ama here, our khabar is a whole jumla fi'liya. So akala is a fi'l ma'a fa'ilihi. What does that mean?
With the fa'il.
So it's a verb with its doer.
Oh, so it's
At-ta'ama,
like
yes. At-ta'ama is the maf'ul bihi. The fi'l plus the fa'il plus the maf'ul bihi, what does that make? A jumla fi'liya. And that whole jumla fi'liya becomes the khabar of inna. So you see how a whole sentence can become the khabar of inna. Number 3, this one is a little bit interesting. If the khabar of inna or its sisters is jar and majroor. What is jar and majroor? What is jar? It's a harf jar. Okay? Jar is a harf jar and majroor is the word that is after the harf jar. Okay, so a jar and majroor would be like fil bayti. That's a jar plus majroor. Sorry? Say that again? Yeah, we haven't talked about what it's called actually. It's not called a murakkab jar. And we'll talk about that. We just call it jar majroor, okay? So a harf jar plus a word after a harf jar, if those two words form the khabar of inna, then the khabar has to come first and the ism of inna has to come second. Why? Don't ask me right now. Okay? So look at the example because he brought an example from the Quran. Okay? Anyone know where this ayah even is?
I guess.
Huh? Surah Al-Kahf? No, it's an easy surah.
What is it?
Look, read it.
Isn't the next verse?
Yes, where is that? Where? Surah Al-Ghashiyah. وذكر إنما أنت مذكر لست عليهم بمسيطر إلا من تولى وكفر فيعذبه الله العذاب الأكبر إن إلينا إيابهم. Now you read this ayah. If you know Surah Al-Ghashiyah and you don't think about this, then your Arabic is a waste. Okay? If the Quran and the Quranic examples are not something you think about now that you're reading the Quran, you won't pick up Arabic easily. So there's a huge responsibility now that you look at the Quran in a different light. So in this example, we have the word inna. I previously told you that inna has to come before what type of word? It has to come before an ism. In this example, there is no ism afterwards. Immediately afterwards, there is not.
Oh, it comes
Because
before the jar.
it comes before the jar,
After the jar.
after the harf jar, and after the majroor. So if you look at ilayna, ilayna is made up of 2 words. What 2 words does ilayna mean? Made up of ila, which means to, and then na, which means what? Us. So ilayna means what?
To us.
To us. That is a harf jar plus the word that comes after harf jar, which is a pronoun, which is na. Those 2 have come immediately after inna as opposed to an ism or the mubtada. Why is that the case? Because if the khabar of inna is a harf jar plus a majroor, the khabar must come before the ism. So that means the ism of inna is actually coming after the harf jar and the majroor, which would make the ism of inna which word? Iyabahum. Iyabahum. Do we see the nasab state there?
Yeah, I was going to ask you that.
Iyabahum.
Ba.
Ba. Good. And then hum is a pronoun, right? So iyab means return. So iyabahum means what? Their return. So inna ilayna iyabahum, what would we translate that as? Indeed to us is their return. Literally this sentence's order should have been what? Inna iyabahum ilayna. But we don't say that. The Quran is also clear that the Quran is flipped the order, which is inna ilayna iyabahum.
That causes us to have this part list.
I'm sorry?
That's the reason we have this list.
That's the reason we have part 3. Yeah. Or like
I was
caveat.
wondering how come you didn't have to show off that, but
It can't.
yeah, because it does.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Actually, the khabar of inna here is actually really hidden. It's a word like mawjood. Like remember we learned that whole
present.
concept.
Yeah.
Yes. It's a different hidden word, but it's the mawjood lesson. Yeah.
Can you just say the rule one more time? Say like what you were just saying.
Let me give you a simpler example, and I'll explain it in that light. Okay. If I told you that indeed a man is in the house. Indeed, a man is in the house. I don't want you to translate this yet. I want you to tell me which words would be the ism of inna and which words would be the khabar of inna.
The system of inna should be the man, right?
Indeed, the man, right? And what should be the khabar of inna here?
In the house.
In the house, right? Now, the khabar of inna, as you can see, is made up of what words? In, which is what type of word? Harf jar, and then house, which is the word that follows the harf jar. If we have a harf jar plus the majroor, the word that follows the harf jar, as the khabar of inna, we will bring the khabar of inna before the ism of inna. Okay? So the order of that sentence would be in English what? Indeed,
In the
in the house is a man. So how would I say that in Arabic? Inna fil bayti rajulan. Why rajulan? Because the ism of inna has to be mansub. It has to be in the nasab state. Does that make sense? Nope.
I would say that though, yeah. If someone says who's indeed in the house, indeed in the house there is someone.
Yeah. You, in hindsight, you would. But you wouldn't. You wouldn't otherwise. In hindsight, you would. All right, we have 4.4, which you're gonna not worry too much about. But in short, sometimes you see inna connected to ma in the Quran. So inna ma. Have you ever heard that word?
Yeah.
Where? إنما يخشى الله من عباده العلماء. Where else? إنما إلهكم إله واحد. Where else? إنما إلهكم الله الذي لا إله إلا هو. Any other إنما's? فإن no, that's فإن مع guys, I want you to focus on Surah At-Tin. Surah Alam Nashrah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says فإن ma'al. Is ma'a a noun?
No.
It's a harf jar. Ma'al usri yusran. So if you can see, inna here is not followed by the ism of inna, it's followed by the khabar of inna, which is ma'al usri. And where's the ism of inna? Yusran, which is the word after. So the ism of inna again here has been thrown at the end of the sentence because the khabar is a jar and a majroor. Does that make sense? So you want a simple example, you can always find something in the Quran. That was just a fluke. I wasn't thinking of that example. I was trying to find inna ma, and I said inna ma. So anyhow, there are many inna ma's in the Quran. In short, if you see an inna ma is actually inna plus ma, and inna plus ma has different meanings. Normally it means only, okay? But the ma cancels the entire effect of inna. If you have a ma attached to inna, it basically says, hey, forget all the rules of inna. There are no more rules of inna. There's no nasab to the ism of inna and khabar, rafar to the khabar of inna.
Just like that.
I'm sorry? No, inna ma and fa inna ma are the same grammatically. So example here is innama ilahukum ilahu wahid. Okay? Your God is only one God. Innama means only. Okay? So do you see anything in the nasab state here?
Nasab state?
Yes. Do you see do you see anything, Wahid?
Oh, that's all. Sorry. No.
Do you see anything?
No.
Why do you think that is?
Because
Because you took out the rule.
Because ma canceled the rule.
Yeah, so when you went back to Rafa and I guess the next one's done, right?
No, they're all in the rafa'at state.
Are they? Oh, I see.
Yeah, the mubtada and khabar are just in the rafa'at state. Okay? And lastly, inna by itself conveys emphasis. Sometimes lam ta'kid, which is another word used for emphasis, it's a la that's used for ta'kid, used for emphasis. Sometimes that's added before the khabar to convey even more emphasis. Like in the Quran, Wallahu yashhadu innaka la rasulullah. Innaka means what? Indeed you. And then la, right before the khabar. What does la mean?
Verily.
Indeed again. It's used for more emphasis. So indeed you, la rasulullah, are the messenger of God, messenger of Allah. So you'll see that la very commonly in the Quran attached to the khabar of inna. Inni la'arifu akhaka. Indeed, I really know your brother. Like I know him really well, too well. Does that make sense? We have la attached to the
So
khabar
lam
of
with
inna.
the fatha means the...
Yes, lam with the fatha means absolutely, certainly, verily.
Gotcha. I've seen it a lot.
You'll see it a lot attached to the khabar of inna. So these are two examples of the la added right before the khabar of inna, and this website keeps crashing. I don't know why. It's the Wi-Fi? Okay.
It's definitely the website. It's not the...
I should have just downloaded it. My bad. That's on me.
Yeah, the internet can... Let your body trying to take over the resources.
Alright. That's just I have too many tabs open. Alright, continue onwards. Continuing onwards, guys. Very quickly, I want you all to try and look at the examples that are given in the exercises below. In our exercises, we have translate, fill in the i'rab, and analyze the following sentences. Looking at number 1.
So i'rab means the harakat?
Yes, i'rab means the harakat here. So, we have the word la'alla. You guys want to try reading it? Mari da na'imun. La'alla al-marida na'imun. The ism of inna is mansub in the nasab state. The khabar of inna is marfu' in the rafa'at state. Yes.
Does that mean the sick is good?
The sick is good? Where's good? Anyone know what na'imun means? Sleeping.
Oh, that's what it means.
So, لَعَلَّ الْمَرِيضَ نَائِمٌ, how can we translate that? Safi, help us out, man.
Something like...
لَعَلَّ does not mean if only. Hopefully. Later is if only. So, hopefully what?
Hopefully the sick will sleep.
Hopefully the sick man is asleep. Hopefully he's getting some rest. Right? It's a good hope that you're expressing for the person who got ill. Look at number 2.
أعلم.
Yeah, that's a'lamu, correct? Say that again, Shamris.
زيداً عاقل.
Why? We need your help.
I agree with what...
Yeah, say it again, say it again.
أعلم أن زيداً عاقل.
Good. What does that mean?
I know that Zayd is intelligent.
I know that Zayd is intelligent.
The dal, it has the alif for the tanween.
Yeah, so it tells you that it's in the nasab state. Very good. Look at number 3. Madik, can you read that for me? Try your best. Rajulun.
Yeah, I don't know how to cast
Oh,
it.
I'm sorry.
Mm-hmm. Wait, why are you saying dakhalul? It's a verb. Fa'ala. Means he did, right? Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Congregation.
Alright. So,
Rajulan. Uh-huh. Dakhala. Yes. Take your best guess. It's definitely not bait. It can't be baiti. What else could it be? Baitu. Correct?
Why is that?
Correct?
I disagree.
You disagree. Why is that?
I say it should be دخل البيت.
Why?
Because here the khabar of inna is a jumla and jumlas are mansoob.
Oh, you're so smart.
Al-bayt is
Jumlas are not mansub. That's not your rationale is wrong. But
Sorry.
your answer is correct.
Yeah.
Well,
Why is it correct?
My bad.
inna rajulan dakhala al-bayta. Why is that correct? Because think of the meaning.
Al-bayt is
So
maf'ul
beta
bihi
is
for
the
dakhala.
the whole thing is the khabar. No, dakhala beta is the khabar.
Yes, dakhala al-bayta is the khabar. Why is it al-bayta though?
Because that's where you enter. It's the
That's the
maf'ul
object,
bihi
right? The maf'ul bihi. So, how do we translate inna rajulan dakhala al-bayta? Entered the house. Very good. 4. Can you read that for me, Safi? Not كان. Say it. كأن القمر مصباح. مصباح. Very good. What does كأن القمر مصباح mean? What does كأن mean? What does كأن mean? It is as if. So, the moon is a lamp. Very good. It is as if the moon is a lamp. Misbah. Think about it. Misbah starts with what? Mim kasra, which tells you that it's a tool of morning. So it's a tool that makes things into morning, which is a lamp.
I think a rooster.
All right, number 5. Can you try this one, Tariq?
ليت القمر طالع.
ليت القمر طالع. Okay, guess what that means. I wish the moon would rise. ليت القمر طالع. So if only the moon had risen, basically, right? Would rise. Yes, it's qamara. Basically, this person is depressed and it's daytime. They wish it was night. Or this person is talking about the beauty of the moon, but there is no moon because it's the first of the month, Islamic. There's no possibility of the moon being out. And lastly, we have an ayah of the Quran from Surah Al-Qiyamah. What is it, what? What's the ayah? Read it, just read the ayah. Inna alayna bayanahu. In this sentence, we have something interesting going on. What's going on? Can someone tell me? Alayna, what is alayna? Upon us, okay, but what am I trying to hint at? It's a harf jar and majroor, which means this is not the ism of inna. What is it? It's the khabar. So where's the ism? Bayanahu, not bayanuhu, because that is the ism coming at the end. The ism has to be in the nasab state. Bayan means explaining. Bayan means to explain something, to make something clear. So bayanahu means explaining it. It's explanation. Expounding on the
explanation is upon us.
Yes, indeed, the explanation is on us, meaning that's our responsibility to explain the Quran. What bayina is evidence? Yes. Because evidences have to be explained, right? Good, mashallah. So that is 1.8. 1.9, inshallah, we're going to go over tomorrow. Today we're going to go ahead and look at Qasas and try to decipher what it is that we got going on next.
So what book was that?
That's called Tasheel al-Nahu.
Oh, that's the part 2.
Yes. Yeah. It's the same one. Inshallah, let's go ahead and look at lesson number 3. We already did lesson 3, but you guys are going to translate it and read it for me before we move on. Okay? Who remembers how we read the heading of this chapter? Nasihatu Ibrahima. What does that mean? The advice of Ibrahim. Very good. Alright, so I want you guys to read this together in sync and then translate. 1, 2, 3, go. Stop. Just line by line.
And Ibrahim was saying to his father.
So we're not going to say Ibrahim was saying to his father. We would say Ibrahim used to. So when we have a present tense verb used with kana, oftentimes the best way to translate it is to say used to. Ibrahim alayhi salam used to say li walidihi to who? His father. Let's read the next line, guys.
Oh my father, why do you worship these idols?
Why, yeah?
ويا
يا أبي
لماذا
ويا
تسجد
أبي لماذا
لهذه
تسجد لهذه الأصنام
الأصنام
And oh my father, why do you prostrate to these idols?
Very good. وَيَا أَبِي
ويا لماذا تسجد هذه الأصنام Oh my father, why do you ask these idols?
Good, very good. إِنَّ
إن هذه الأصنام لا تسمع
Indeed. Not the idols. These idols.
don't speak and don't listen.
Good. وَإِنَّ
هذه الأصنام لا تضر ولا these idols
No. In la taduru means what? Do not.
harm.
Don't harm. وَلَا تنفع means? And do not benefit. Very good. What? This is a tough one. Try it again. Who remembers لِأَيِّ شَيْءٍ? For what reason? Literally means what? No. What does it literally mean? Li? Where'd you get what?
Oh, I see. Leaves for anything.
No, not ayu doesn't mean anything.
شيء is anything. شيء is
Ayu means which.
which for which
For which thing. And this is a way of saying why. Okay? So لأي شيء تضع لها الطعام والشراب. How do we translate that? Do you place لها for them food? So why do you place food and drink for them? Like if we reordered it to be a little bit more English friendly. Let's continue. وَإِنَّ And indeed, idols, O Father, do not drink. What? Yeah, that's do not say. وكان كان أزر يغضب. Azar used to get angry
and not
not understand. وكان And Ibrahim used to give advice to his people.
And the people used to get angry and not understand.
The people used to get angry and not understand. قال إبراهيم So I brushed through this last time. So let's just briefly go over this. Ibrahim alayhi salam said, not literally, this is in the imagination of the author. Ana, I. This is redundant. He doesn't have to say ana because he's saying after that aksiru. Aksiru is a present tense verb which means I break or I will break or I am breaking. Which of them do you think it is? I will break. Al-Asnama, I will break what? The idols. Ida means when. And it can mean if, as you talked about last time. We'll look at examples of that in the grammar book. When ذهب الناس.
People go.
When the people go. Now, ذهب is past tense.
Right.
However, if you have the word ida in Arabic, any subsequent, meaning any past tense verb after it, will always be translated in present or future tense.
Yeah.
Okay? So, for example, I can tell you, إِذَا جَاءَ الْمَطَرُ فَرِحْتُ. Try listening. إِذَا جَاءَ. What does جَاء mean? Came. So إِذَا جَاءَ الْمَطَرُ. Matar means
rain.
So when the rain came, but I'm not going to translate it as came.
Because it hasn't come yet. Yes.
So I'm going to say when the rain comes, فرحت. I got happy. That's not how I'll translate it. I will be happy. Even if I've used past tense verbs, we still translate them as present tense if they follow the word إذا.
Can you say afra?
Yes, you can. You can say both. But in the Quran, for example, we have إِذَا جَاءَ نَصْرُ اللَّهِ وَالْفَتْحُ. Allah doesn't say إِذَا يَجِئُ النَّصْرُ اللَّهِ. He says إِذَا جَاءَ. جَاءَ is a past tense verb. Okay? وَرَأَيْتَ النَّاسَ. رَأَيْتَ is that past or present? رَأَيْتَ فَعَلْتَ. Past tense. وَرَأَيْتَ النَّاسَ يَدْخُلُونَ فِي دِينِ اللَّهِ أَفْوَاجًا. We translate this as إِذَا جَاءَ نَصْرُ اللَّهِ وَالْفَتْحُ. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's help and victory comes, not when it came. وَرَأَيْتَ, and when you shall see, not when you saw. So when you see the people entering into Islam in large groups. So just a note to remember, إِذَا is being used here. What you need to remember is if you see إِذَا, any past tense verb afterwards will not be translated as past tense. Here's an even crazier kicker. Take the word إِذَا, and I want you to get rid of the alif after it. How do we translate? How do we say that? إِذ, okay? إِذ is in the Quran as well. إِذ is the exact opposite of إِذَا. That means if you see the word إِذ and there's a present tense verb afterwards, you're still going to translate it as past tense.
I see.
And we see that in the Quran too. Safi, where's إِذ in the Quran followed by present tense verb? Where? إِذْ قَالَ لِأَبِيهِ وَقَوْمِهِ. But I want to see an إِذ followed by present tense verb. That's a past tense verb. Yes. إِذْ يَقُولُ. إِذْ يَقُولُ لِصَاحِبِهِ لَا تَحْزَنْ. How do we translate إِذْ يَقُولُ لِصَاحِبِهِ?
So we wouldn't say he says.
No, what does إِذْ mean?
He said.
When he said. Even though يَقُولُ means
He says.
he says, he will say. But because it follows إِذْ, we're going to translate it in the opposite way. It makes it past tense even if the verb afterwards is present tense. So you guys understand the difference right now? I haven't shown you examples of إِذْ because they're rare, but inshallah you will see them. So anyhow, إِذَا followed by a past tense verb still translates to the present tense. That's what we're seeing here. قال إبراهيم أنا أكسر الأصنام إذا ذهب الناس. Ibrahim said, I will break the idols. إذا ذهب الناس. How do we translate that? When the people will leave, will go. وحينئذ, and then at that time, حينئذ, at that time, يفهم الناس. Not what? Sorry? You got? They will understand. Yes, they will understand. The people will understand. Yeah, at that time. At that time.
Yom Ha'idin is on this day.
Yeah, on that day.
On that day.
Yes.
On
At that time. Yes. Yom means day, right?
Yeah.
Heen means time. So Yoma idin means on that day. Hina idin means on that time. At that time.
What is the word with that? It's hina?
Yes.
Is the core word?
Yes, yes. The core word is hina. And in slang Arabic, you probably say al-heen.
Oh, yeah, we do. Yeah.
You say al-heen, right? What does al-heen mean? Right now, right?
We
Yeah,
say
yeah,
Essa.
Now you see, you've heard al-heen. You've heard the nasheed. حينما حل البلاء جئت إليك دليلا.
So it's how do you say this?
On this day, اليوم. All right. And on at that time, يفهم الناس, the people will understand. Look at number 4. Chapter number 4. Who can read the heading of the chapter for me? Now yaksaru, it's from the bab daraba yadribu. Yaksiru al-asnama. Ibrahimu yaksiru al-asnama, which means
Ibrahim is breaking the idol or breaks idols.
breaks the idols, right? We can just say Ibrahim alayhi salam breaks the idols. All right. Very easy chapter, guys. I hope that you guys can do this on your own. Go ahead, try line number 1. وَجَاءَ يَوْمُ عِيدٍ. Ja'a, I told you, means came. So what came? No, we don't start in English with the verb. In English, we start with the subject.
The day
The day of Eid came, fa,
So the people celebrated.
so the people
Celebrated.
got happy, became happy. You can, paraphrase and say celebrated, but celebrate's a different verb. فَفَرِحَ النَّاسُ, so the people rejoiced, so the people became happy. Let's try the second line. The people, kharaja means left, right? People left for Eid. What is Eid? What is Eid?
It's a holiday.
Huh?
It's a holiday.
Our Eid?
Yeah.
They had our Eid?
No,
It's just a celebration, right?
Oh, damn.
So Eid in the Arabic language comes from Aoud. Aoud, not Oud, not Oud. Aoud. Ada Ya'udu means to... Come on. That's Adda. Ada.
Give us a hint.
It's like come back.
Yes, it means to come back.
Oh?
Yeah, Ada means he came back. Yeah,
Come back to me.
yeah. So very, very... All mistake. Yeah, so Ya'udu means he comes back, right? Now, Eid comes from that word. Eid is the thing that comes every year.
Oh, really?
Eid is a holiday that comes annually. Literally, that's what
That's
it
what
means.
Eid means.
Yes, Eid means the one that keeps coming
Our
back.
only holiday training.
I'm sorry?
Oh, Eid Milad.
You're going super
You're right, it is
controversial.
Eid Milad, yeah.
Every Eid happens
Eid
every year.
al-Jawaz.
The Jawaz?
Yeah, it's your anniversary.
Oh, I didn't even know
Eid
that.
al-Jawaz.
I don't celebrate mine really. وجاء يوم عيد. Sorry, وخرج الناس للعيد. So people went out for the holiday. وخرج الأطفال. And the what?
The people left as well.
The people left, and who left?
Children.
The children. Atfal is a plural of what Arabic word? Tiflun, which means child.
Where is
We don't have went, we have left. They went out. Kharaja means to leave or to go out, right? So I said they went out. So the children left as well. The people left, the kids left. Let's read our third line. وَخَرَجَ Okay, let's start translating. خرج والد إبراهيم. Ibrahim's father left, got out to go. Okay, and he said, Li Ibrahim, to Ibrahim.
Are you not going to go out with us?
Where'd you get, are you not?
Are you not?
Is a question. La takhruju means what? You are not coming out, or you are not going out.
Are you not?
So are you not going out comes from the meaning of like the question is being understood from the harful istifham, from the interrogative particle okay, so ala takhruju ma'ana, will you not go out ma'a with us? Okay, any questions? Safi, you following? You sleeping? What's happening? You're distracted, man. You're texting too much. That's why I'm against using iPads. Because I would just be on my device all day if I could. قال إبراهيم. Let's read that. قال إبراهيم. قال إبراهيم أنا سقيم. Ibrahim said Sagim. No, Sagim. In your lihja maybe.
أنا صغير.
Sagim. I'm sick. Saqim.
You say Mari.
Yes, Saqim is a different type of sick. Saqim is literally the word Allah told us in the Quran that He said. Okay? So Ibrahim said, فَقَالَ إِنِّي سَقِيم فَتَوَلَّوْا عَنْهُ مُدْبِرِينَ. Surah Yusuf? What you say? It's not in Surah Ibrahim. Think about it. It's in Safat. Yes. Ana saqim. He said, I am sick. Saqim in the Arabic language, guys, very quickly, take a look at this. Sick.
Saqim. One. Oh, he's very sick.
SQ yeah. Suqam is sickness, illness. Saqima yasqamu from the bab. Sami'a yasma'u, which is a bab that has to do with bodily experiences. Remember everything that we have learned about Sami'a yasma'u? The majority of verbs that we've come across that come from this pattern have to do with the bodily experience. Sami'a means hearing. Fahima means understanding. Aqila means understanding. Saqima means to become sick. Saqima, you guys see the kasra right there?
Yeah.
And then the A tells us the present tense would have a fatha. Yasqamu. Like Sami'a yasma'u. That's what the A tells us. Okay? Okay?
Is ayan not like that?
What?
Ayan. Is that slang?
Sick?
I've never heard Ayyan.
Ayal?
Ayan.
Must be.
Ayan.
I guess the Egyptian.
Lost.
Like
I'll look it up. No, there's probably a Fusha origin to that word. So anyhow, Saqima can also mean to become thin, lean, and skinny because you look sick when you're thin, lean, and skinny. Anyhow, Ibrahim said, Ana Saqim, I am sick. Can you read the next line for me, everyone? What does that mean?
And people go.
The people went. Baqiya. This is a new verb. What does baqiya mean?
Something.
Baqiya.
Must be bodily function, huh?
What?
Oh, is that a place?
Jannatul Baqiya. That's the graveyard. That's Baqiya. It's in Medina, right? Right across Masjid Nabawi. Baqiya yabqa, which means to remain. Baqiya yabqa.
You're right.
Okay? Yeah, he knows. He knows. I ignore him just so that y'all don't get lazy.
Yes.
He got it, mashallah. So in Arabic, in the Quran, we have ma indakum yanfadu wa ma indallahi baqa. Whatever it is that you have will perish. Wa ma indallah, and what is with Allah baqa will remain forever. Okay? Baqiya means to stay. So let's start our sentence over in translating. ذهب الناس.
The people went.
The people went. Shamriz, we need your help. Why? We need your help. وَبَقِيَ إِبْرَاهِيمُ, who remained? Ibrahim remained fil bayti, in the house. Next line, guys. Not asnama. Yeah. وَقَالَ لِلْأَصْنَامِ. Stop. What do we translate that as?
Okay, it is a
Ibrahim came to the idols. He said to the idols, Ala tasma'un. We use the same verbs that we had before. Because remember the previous chapter, we saw the line in which it was stated, إن هذه الأصنام لا تتكلم ولا تسمع. And in this line he's saying, ألا تتكلمون ألا تسمعون. It's a question. How do you know it's a question? The And then لا تتكلمون means what?
Do you not?
No, لا تتكلمون means what? It's not a command.
Did you say
Speak
do not
not.
speak?
What does تتكلمون mean?
To speak.
speak.
They speak.
Yes. تتكلمون means
Do
what?
they not speak?
You speak. You speak. You all speak.
Oh, تتكلمون. Okay.
Una, you all speak. لا تتكلمون means what?
You all don't speak.
You all don't speak. ألا تتكلمون means
Do you all do not speak?
do you all not speak? Don't you all speak, or do you all not speak? So, make sure you understand the verbs and the tenses of the verbs so you can understand this properly. Yeah.
What is the difference between تكلم and كلم? كلم is stabbing, تكلم is speaking.
Yes,
Okay.
By the way, no one uses the verb kalima to mean stab.
Okay.
I was telling you the origins of the word, even though the origin is not used. No one
How
uses
would you
it.
say you stab?
أتكلمون
No, not question. Just like
تكلمون.
Yeah.
I told us that.
No, in slang, what is it?
Oh, I.
Yeah.
But he don't live in that world, bro. He's a doctor.
Yeah.
All right. ألا تتكلمون?
do you not
Do you not
talk?
speak? ألا تسمعون?
Not here.
Here.
Here's an interesting thing. Were the idols human or non-human?
Not human.
But he's still speaking to them as though they're human because he's using the plural instead of the singular feminine.
Right.
And that's because he's giving them the opportunity to act human, to act rational.
So grammatically,
Grammatically, the right thing, you don't talk to non-humans. Grammatically, you don't talk to non-humans. But he's talking to them as if they're human, just so that, he can prove a point. That's what the authors imagine. Actually, in the Quran as well. فَرَاغَ إِلَىٰ آلِهَتِهِمْ فَقَالَ أَلَا تَأْكُلُونَ. In the Quran too. He went to the idols and he said to them, أَلَا تَأْكُلُونَ? Do you not eat? So anyhow, look at the next line. هَذَا طَعَامٌ وَشَرَابٌ أَلَا تَأْكُلُونَ أَلَا تَشْرَبُونَ. What is he saying?
this is food and drink.
This is food and drink.
Do you not eat?
Do you not eat? Do you not drink? All right, let's read our next line. Wait. Guys, you see the two tas?
Yes.
The second one is supposed to have,
It's a tamir, right?
the second ta is supposed to have a sukoon. Sakatat.
Oh, okay.
Okay? But when we combine it with the lam that has a sukoon afterwards, we have to put a kasra on it to
All of them
pronounce
have
it.
the tajweed one.
It's not tajweed rule. Okay? So in reality, this is sakatat. Sakatat is what type of word?
Seems like it should be fair.
It's a verb for female, like fa'alat. So what are the root letters? Sakata. Sakata means what?
He was quiet.
He was quiet. Very good. Sakata, yes. Guys, look at this. You guys are gonna need some. Yes, kutu. How'd you figure the kutu out? The you. Very good. Sakata yes kutu means to be silent and say nothing. Okay. So sakatat al asnamu. What does that mean?
They were silent. The idols were silent.
The idols were silent.
That's not the mir, the extra tab.
No, it's like fa'alat. Fa'ala, fa'ala, fa'alu, fa'alat. Singular female.
So is the verb 3 letters or 4?
It's 3.
Okay, yeah.
Got
Okay,
it?
now-
The ta's part of the first ta's part of the original 3.
Did you put the kasra so it'll wrap it to the next word?
Yeah, I didn't put it, but yeah, that's why they do
That's why
it.
it's so
Yes. Yeah, so the rule is if you have a sukoon followed by another sukoon, the first sukoon gets a kasra.
So it'll be like second, third.
Yes. So we can pronounce it better.
Yeah.
We can't say wasakatat al asnam.
Right.
We have to skip the a.
Okay.
In any circumstance, it's hamzatul wasl. It has to be skipped.
It is that. That's what I
Yeah, sakata yaskutu. Very good. Wasakatatil asnamu. So the idols remained silent. Li'annaha. Wait, guys. Li'anna. What is this word? We say li, and then we see anna. What is anna? What does anna mean?
That.
Okay, we're not going to translate it as that. Because li anna means for that.
Yeah.
A better way of saying for that is because. Okay? So li annaha,
because
because it, because they, not she. We're talking about idols. Because they are hijaratun. Hijaratun, what's hijaratun? They are stones. La tantiqu.
That's not looking right.
We gotta figure this out. So before we translate la tantiqu, good question. It's in the Quran, it's in Surah Al-Dhariyat. I hope you guys know where it is if you know the Quran.
What?
Al-Dhariyat.
Yeah.
It's on line number 10, right side, second page, Surah Dariyat. Sorry? Alright, no, it doesn't mean repeat. So wait, once again, guys, pay attention. Second page, 15 line Quran. It has to be the Nastali Persian print though. Now, if we look at this sentence so far, there's a new concept that I need to teach you that's not in our Nahu book, that's also not in like any grammatical structure until you get real far. But the author decided to use it here, so I'm going to have to teach it to you. So before you find the ayah, or if you're finding the ayah, let me know when you're ready so I can teach the next idea. Yes, فَوَرَبِّ السَّمَاءِ وَالْأَرْضِ إِنَّهُ لَحَقٌّ مِثْلَ مَا أَنَّكُمْ Found it? You found it where I told you? Alright, good. Alhamdulillah. Alright.
He's like, yeah, you found it where I told you.
One line before what I said?
Yeah, that's what I thought.
You said line 10?
Tantiqun's not on the 10th line? It's on the 9th line. Okay, my bad.
Oh, you're right.
It's the 10th. I got you. I got you.
This goes to the next line.
Alright, listen. What I was talking about was a new concept. The new concept we're going to learn after we understand this sentence up until hijaratun real quick, one more time. Sakatatil, number 1. If you see this kasra on the ta, here's where it can get a little bit confusing. If we recall the Arabic verbs of 14 verbs, we had fa'ala, then we had what? Fa'ala, and then we had what? Fa'alu, then we had fa'alat, then we had fa'alata, fa'alna, fa'alta, fa'altuma, tum, fa'alti. Now stop. Fa'alti, someone might confuse this for fa'alti. Sakatatil. Why would they confuse it for fa'alti? Because there's a kata with the kasra on fa'alti, and you see ta with the kasra, you're like, okay, it means you.
Yeah.
How do you know that this isn't fa'alti and this is in reality fa'alat?
That's not.
No, that's not how. Think about fa'alti. Fa'al. The lam has what? Does this third letter have a sukoon? No, so it's actually from fa'alat. It's not from fa'alti. That's an important thing to reflect on because it's very easy to confuse those two patterns. Sakatatil aslamu, the idols were silent. Li'anna, how did we translate li'anna? Because. So li'annaha means because they are hijaratun, stones. And now, here's an interesting thing. Is hijaratun a definite word or an indefinite word?
Indefinite.
How do you know?
Because it's tanween.
You see the tanween. You know that it's not a proper noun. You know that it doesn't have alif lam. You know that it isn't mudaf. Those are all signs of a word being definite. This one has none of them. Remember, proper nouns are definite, like Khalid. Is this a word like Khalid?
No.
Does this have al?
No.
Is this mudaf?
No.
No. This has to be indefinite. Here's the interesting thing. When you have an indefinite noun in Arabic, you can actually have a sifa that's a whole sentence.
Oh, but the had. Or no, that's different.
So
No.
the sifa be. No.
I haven't taught you hal.
Okay.
It's better that I teach you first this, okay? So let me explain. Who remembers what a sifa is? No, sifa. Good, it's a descriptive adjective, right? Now, can someone give me a quick example of an Arabic mawsuf and sifa? What? Yes. Ar-rajulu tawilu. What does ar-rajulu tawilu mean?
The tall man.
The tall man. Let's make this all indefinite. How would I make that an indefinite phrase?
Rajulun tawilun.
Rajulun tawilun. What is our mawsuf here?
Rajulun.
Is it a noun?
Yes.
Of course. Your mawsuf is always a noun. If your mawsuf is indefinite, your sifa doesn't have to be a noun. Your sifa can be a whole sentence. Okay? So let me explain using another example. رجل مات قطه.
What?
The man's cat.
رجل مات. Mata is a verb which means died. Mata, like maut. No. Yeah. So رجل مات قطته. ماتت قطته. A man died his cat. That's not how we would translate it. Because the jumla fi'liya matat qitbatuhu, his cat died, is a description of the man. So a man whose cat died.
That's hal though, right?
No. Hal is a condition at the time of the action. Okay?
This is a general.
This is a general description of the man.
And so that is also not a jumla, that's murakkab.
It's a jumla that then becomes the sifa for the man.
Yeah, and so then the whole thing.
The whole thing becomes a murakkab, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Okay. Let me give you another example. I can say waladun abuhu jamilun. A boy abuhu jamilun. Not a boy's father. I said waladun abuhu jamilun. What's the sentence that I'm using as a sifa? Abuhu jamilun, which means what? His father's beautiful. But I want that whole sentence to act like a description of the boy. How can I say that in English? No, I'm not saying the boy's father. I don't want to talk about the boy's father. I'm trying to tell you about the boy.
Yeah, the boy whose father is beautiful.
Yes. So you say which one? I'm like the boy whose dad is fly. Yeah. So do you get it? So I'm not telling you about his dad. I'm telling you about the boy. Yes, Arif, you have a question? Okay. So you guys understand the concept? If you have, remember the principle. If you have a mawsuf that is indefinite, nakira, your sifa can be a whole sentence. And we have plenty of those across the Quran. The sifa is a whole sentence, the mawsuf is a indefinite noun. Huh? Which ayah? No, those are all definites. Indefinite mawsuf can have a sentence as its sifa. That's the principle. So you can have many variations of this. Like I could say, دخل رجل سيارته ثمينة المسجد. Listen carefully. دخل المسجد رجل سيارته ثمينة. I just flipped two words. دخل المسجد.
Enter the masjid.
Enter the masjid. Who entered the masjid? رجل سيارته ثمينة. ثمينة means valuable.
Which guy? The guy with the nice car.
Yes, so the man with the expensive car, a man with an expensive car entered into the masjid. Make sense? Here we have the same thing going on. In this line, if you look carefully, we have لأنها حجارة. حجارة is that definite or indefinite? And look right after it. لا تنطق. That's a whole sentence.
That would be the sifa.
That would be the sifa describing what? Hijaratun. And look carefully at our dictionary. We got to figure out the word tamtiqu. It means to speak. You looked it up, huh?
Yeah, untok. No, you say untok. Definition of the ayah.
Oh, okay, mashallah. So nataqa means to utter, to speak.
What's the difference between that?
That makes sense.
Kalam is about, it means the same thing. Kalima, takallama means to speak with the mouth. Nataqa means to speak with the mouth. Kalam's origin is hurting someone. Nataqa's origin is uttering something. Okay, so they have different origins, but they're used in the same way.
What about like ahd?
Yeah, that comes from hikaya, which means to tell a story. Okay? Yeah? So they all have the same usage, but different origins. Okay, so لا تنطقوا means what? They do not speak. So how can we translate لأنها حجارة لا تنطق?
It's a non-speaking stone. They're non-speaking.
Because they are
Stones that don't speak.
non-speaking stones or stones that can't speak.
I think they just say stones. Stones don't talk.
Yeah, but he's teaching you the grammar. So this concept will come again and again. If you don't take note of this in your brain or paper or wherever at this point, I can guarantee next time you'll be like, whoa, that's cool. And then the next time you'll be like, whoa, that's cool. And then you know what? I feel like I'm the psycho one. Because I feel like maybe I never taught this. But I'm getting deja vu like you said this 6 times to me. So as a teacher, this is very common. You get something for being a teacher because you just learn to act like you're the crazy one.
So what's the majrur for the beat? It knows it doesn't, right? So yeah.
Don't worry. That's not a harf jar. It's not being used as a harf jar. Okay? Lianna literally means because. Alright, let's finish our chapter off. Wasaka, try it guys. Okay, sakatatil asnamu means what?
Got quiet.
So sakatatil asnamu means what?
So the idols got quiet.
The idols stayed quiet. They didn't get quiet. They weren't talking. They remained quiet. Wa ma. Remember, if ma comes before a past tense verb, it gives the opposite meaning of the verb. Nataqat means what?
They're not articulate.
Nataqat means good. So ma nataqat means
They did not.
they didn't speak. So the idols remained silent and they did not speak. Hayna idhan. Let's read that. Everyone, guys, y'all are dying, bro. وَأَخَذَ الْفَأْسَ. Very good. حينئذ, what does that mean?
On that time.
No, on that time. So how do we say that in English?
Right now.
Right now?
Currently.
No, I'm saying at that time.
Back there. Then.
At that time, at that moment.
At that moment.
Right?
Yeah.
You said on that time.
Yeah. Oh. Back in my days.
Okay, so at that moment, what happens? غضب Ibrahim. What is غضب? To get angry. غضب يغضب is like سمع يسمع. What did I tell you about that bad? Human feelings, human experiences, all fall under سمع يسمع. غضب إبراهيم. Ibrahim. He got angry. وأخذ
He took
الفأس. Good. الفأس. الفأس is the axe. He took the axe.
Yes.
Let's read our last 2 lines. وضرب. Very good. ضرب Ibrahim means what? He hit the idols بالفأس with the axe. وكسر. كسر means what? So كسر الأصنام means he broke al-asnama, the idols. Good. Our last one.
You said something. Wait, isn't there a rule for tools? Like they start with a certain word.
Yeah, maybe that's
Yeah, that's a type of tool. Al-fas doesn't. It just has its own word. A lot of times, mim kasra words. All the times, you'll see a mim kasra word. Mixer. Logically, you could, but nobody used it. Mikhshab for wood. You could. You could. Logically, you could. So you see how we logically have rules to make words that have specific meanings. That's what makes Arabic an athletic language. That if science was something that the Arabs took seriously, then they have in their arsenal like millions of new words they can logically come up with according to the rules of how to make a word make that meaning logically.
Right.
They have that framework, they're just not using it. But at some point in time, they may use it. Some words catch on, some don't.
Theoretically, there's like millions.
There are theoretically. Yeah, you can make. Yeah, in theory, the Arabic language is more than 4 million words.
So you could actually make up words, like you could kind of make up your own new Arabic language.
Yes, you're not making a new Arabic language. Even if someone didn't know your words, they'd know what you're saying.
It follows rules.
Yeah.
Because there's rules, like the meme kasra is always used for tools, right? But there are more rules that you've yet to experience. Many more, which you could use to make any meaning that you really wanted to. Because you have like, imagine if you had 50,000 root words, but you can make those 50,000 root words into 200 words each.
So that's 40.
How would you say like there's
That's 4 mil right there.
how would you say air conditioning?
Al-mukayyif,
Why is that mukayyif?
because you haven't learned that part of sarf.
Because I know like
Mukayyif comes from kayyafa, which is a verb. Kayyafa means to change the condition from kayf. You know kayfa means how, which is a word for a condition, right? So kayyafa means to recondition, air condition. Okay, so mukayyif is the one who changes the condition.
because I've heard mukif.
Yeah. Yeah, so mukif and mukayyif logically are both correct.
Because I asked you a couple times about the meme gum over here like this.
Yeah, it's a hard discussion. All right. Anyhow, we have one last line, guys. وترك الصنم الأكبر No. Taraka means to leave something, right? So Taraka Ibrahim left. Sanam means idol, but here it's Mawsuf, right? You see the sifa? Where's the sifa? Al-Akbar. What does Al-Akbar mean?
The big.
No, that would be a Sanam al-Kabir.
Oh, the biggest.
Al-Akbar means the biggest. How did we get that meaning? Basically, if you take a verb, you take the root letters, you put it on the pattern of af'alu, now you get the superlative, as you've said, the biggest. So if I want to say
The nicest.
asma'u,
The best hearing.
the most hearing, right? Allahu asma'u. If I want to say the most knowledgeable, it would be a'lamu. Allahu a'lamu. Allah knows best. Aktabu means the one who just writes the most, right? Al-Akbaru means the biggest. As-Sanam al-Akbara means he left behind the biggest idol. Then we have Allaqa. This is a new complicated verb. When I say complicated verb, I mean it's not in accordance to any of the 6 patterns of Sami'a, Fataha, Daraba, Nasara, Hasiba, or Karuma. This is a new pattern. You don't need to learn the pattern right now. All you have to learn is there's an additional shadda. There's an additional shadda on the second letter. And you can theoretically put any verb on this pattern. So I can say وَقَطَّعَ. I can say وَغَلَّقَ. غَلَّقَ is in the Quran. وَغَلَّقَتْ الْأَبْوَابِ. عَلَّقَ, as you said, means to hang. Good. Now عَلَّقَ, we have the non-shadda version in Surah Al-Alaq. خلق الإنسان من, we don't say من علق. خلق الإنسان من علق. So there are many different verbs that come from the same root letters that can be on different patterns. So علق, they mean different things. علق in the Arabic language means clot. Right? Clot. He created a human being from a clot. Okay? Alaq in the Arabic language literally means something that's hanging on. Because blood clots hang on to things around them and stick to them. And the zygote of the human being, you as a single fertilized cell, you stuck to your mom's uterine wall. You literally got stuck. You're so microscopic, nobody could have seen you stuck there. But subhanAllah, Allah called it alaq, the one that got stuck. There was no invention of a microscope at that time. But Allah called it alaq. Very insightful thing. So alaqa means to hang, to make something stick. Alaq is something that's stuck. Alaqa means to make something else stick. And how do you make something stick? You hang it, right? So wa'allaqa al-fa'sa, and he hung what? The axe. Fi in
On his neck.
Unuqi's neck. Unuqi, he means his neck. So he hung it in his neck. That's just a way of saying it. He hung it around his
This is where he framed the big one for.
Yeah, whole story.
It's actually.
Very good. Yeah, you remember, mashallah.
I knew that.
So tomorrow we're going to do lesson 1.9. You guys have to read over 1.9, or I will spend the whole class doing 1.9 and none of this.
So Shan, question. So are these stories, they're accurate? Or they follow the no?
They're for children. They're for children. That means the theme of the story is correct. But if he says Ibrahim said this, he's just using his imagination to describe what Ibrahim said to the idols. Most of it is Quranic, by the way, inspired. Most of this is Quranic. But remember, this is not a history book. This is a children's book. This is a kid's book. Inshallah. So we'll conclude here. Subhanallah, bihamdi, subhanallah.
So Shan, what grade would you say we're in right now?
You're in kindergarten now. You're probably first grade.
I'm first grade.
First grade.
That's a big...
Only the first grader that reads this good.
No. I'm not saying you're in first grade by today's standards.
Oh, okay.
In today's standards, nobody's reading this.
Oh, okay.
You know, it's not fun. Mom, 30, 40 years ago when they were
Well, first grade was
Uh-huh.
just color.
high school, they're like, they were studying this forever.
Yeah.
It's like, it's impossible to ever get 100.
It's hard.
To ever get like an 8, it's literally not.
Yeah, it's hard. There's a lot. I haven't even taught you a lot of the stuff we already did. There's so many grammatical things I'm skipping. I'm not trying to go over everything and then you like just do one line a day.
Yeah.
That wouldn't be very fun, right? We're gonna need some adhan real quick. Why are you hosting it?
Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله. أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله. أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله. حي على الصلاة. حي على الصلاة. حي على الفلاح. حي على الفلاح. الله أكبر، الله أكبر. لا إله إلا الله.
I tell him. Thank you. It's like, yeah, well, then I wish you would stay. like, you know, the little things where like my mom's like, kitchen's not arranged right. Like she starts arranging it. And then I remember just all of a sudden I'm just like, all of this stuff. Your dad is
الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح قد قامت الصلاة قد قامت الصلاة الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله.
الله أكبر. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين. وقال الذين كفروا لا تسمعوا لهذا القرآن والغوا فيه لعلكم تغلبون فلنذيقن الذين كفروا عذابا شديدا ولنجزينهم أسوأ الذي كانوا يعملون ذلك جزاء أعداء الله النار لهم فيها دار الخلد جزاء بما كانوا بآياتنا يجحدون وقال الذين كفروا ربنا أرنا الذين أضلانا من الجن والإنس نجعلهما تحت أقدامنا ليكونا من الأسفلين إن الذين قالوا ربنا الله ثم استقاموا تتنزل عليهم الملائكة ألا تخافوا ولا تحزنوا وأبشروا بالجنة التي كنتم توعدون. الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم
نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين إن الذين قالوا ربنا الله ثم استقاموا تتنزل عليهم الملائكة ألا تخافوا ولا تحزنوا وأبشروا بالجنة التي كنتم توعدون نحن أولياؤكم في الحياة الدنيا وفي الآخرة ولكم فيها ما تشتهي أنفسكم ولكم فيها ما تدعون نزلا من غفور رحيم ومن أحسن قولا ممن دعا إلى الله وعمل صالحا وقال إنني من المسلمين ولا تستوي الحسنة ولا السيئة ادفع بالتي هي أحسن فإذا الذي بينك وبينه عداوة كأنه ولي حميم وما يلقاها إلا الذين صبروا وما يلقاها إلا ذو حظ عظيم وإما ينزغنك من الشيطان نزغ فاستعذ بالله إنه هو السميع العليم الله أكبر سمع الله لمن حمده الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر سمع الله لمن حمده الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر سمع الله لمن حمده الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر السلام عليكم ورحمة الله السلام عليكم ورحمة الله بسم الله والحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه ومن والاه وبعد. We began a tough and difficult section on Surah An-Nisa about a topic of discussion that can be had at length. And the purpose of this tafsir is not to explain how every marital dispute can be resolved. The Quran doesn't tell us how to resolve every dispute. The Quran tells us some principles about what it is are the boundaries of marital harmony, and what it is are the boundaries that can't be crossed in any given circumstance. So just to give you a little bit of a refresher as to what we talked about yesterday, or the day before. We talked about the fact that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَإِنِ امْرَأَةٌ خَافَتْ مِنْ بَعْلِهَا نُشُوزًا أَوْ إِعْرَاضًا فَلَا جُنَاحَ عَلَيْهِنَّ أَنْ يُصْلِحَا بَيْنَهُمَا صُلْحًا وَالصُّلْحُ خَيْرٌ. That if a woman fears ill treatment from her husband, fears that her husband will become averse to her presence, then there is no harm in the two of them coming to terms and finding some middle reconciliatory, or finding a reconciliation that would serve as middle ground for both their needs and desires. What does that reconciliation or that sulh look like? In practice, there are many different options that a Muslim has for coming to middle ground between themselves and their spouse. The principles that the Quran gives are the following. أَن يُصْلِحَ بَيْنَهُمَا صُلْحًا. That the first and foremost desire or the view that the Quran presents is that if a husband and wife are having disputes about what their needs and wants are, then let them reconcile this with sulh between themselves. Not to involve a third party unnecessarily. Unless someone's life is at risk, unless someone's well-being is at threat, in a manner where if they didn't remove themselves from the circumstance, then, or unless the reconciliation that they've already come to time and time again is not working, yet they still wish to reconcile using a third party for guidance. The Quran first and foremost recognizes that husband and wife are to try and reconcile themselves between one another. The second thing that the Quran talks about is the fact that there is no option of treating someone in an un-Islamic way, abusively, and maintaining that relationship. In Surah Al-Baqarah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, فَإِمْسَاكُمْ بِمَعْرُوفٍ أَوْ تَسْرِيحٌ بِإِحْسَانٍ. Either holding on to that relationship with ma'ruf, with dignity, with goodness, or تَسْرِيحٌ بِإِحْسَانٍ, or severing that relationship, letting your ex go, or your ex-colleague go, بِإِحْسَانٍ, in the best of fashion, harmoniously, amicably, without having any type of ill feelings that follow each and every one of the two members who severed their relationship, causing them to further harm one another. That's another principle that the Quran sets out. The third thing that we talked about is the fact that after talking about reconciliation, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَصُلْحُ خَيْرٌ. That reconciling is always the better option as opposed to severing the relationship if it's possible. And after talking about compromise, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَأُحْضِرَتِ الْأَنفُسُ الشُّحْ. That every human soul has been presented, literally has been presented with extreme greed. Meaning, avarice or greed is something that is ever present in every human soul. So whenever a compromise is made between a husband and wife, the greed of each member, husband and wife, is different. The first fact is that the greed of a woman typically lies in her intense and powerful desire to protect the future of her children. Naturally, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has placed a greater sense of love in the mother for her children because she's made a greater sacrifice. And because she's biologically bred to be the caretaker of those children, even at times when her willpower seems to be at zero. Allah has placed that capacity of protection, of love, and motherly instinct in mothers. So her desire, her intense desire is to protect the future of her children because she fears that for her to be let go, for her husband to sever this relationship would ruin the future of her children. Or that her life elsewhere may turn out to be more bitter and worse than the life that she's currently experiencing. On the other hand, a husband is tempted by what it is that his wife is willing to do, he sees that she's partly forgiven her dowry. Imagine her mahar was $50,000, and she says you can have $25,000. And he's understood that she's willing to give up more and more and more the more it is that you make this relationship unresolvable, or make this relationship such that she will be driven to the point of giving more. He sees that she's given part of her dowry up, or fully up. She's also stopped from claiming other rights as well, as a wife. So a woman has rights beyond her money. A woman has a right to housing. A woman has a right to expenses. A woman has a right to lodging, clothing, food of a certain standard. She has the right also to forego those rights. So sometimes, in the benefit of her children, or in the benefit of her society, or her family's stability, or her parents' emotional health, she may choose to give up all of these rights. And a man is therefore thinking, potentially, he might think, should it be difficult, at all difficult, for him to get along with her? So a mutual compromise, in reality, in that situation, is something he's looking for that would serve his best interest better than hers. This is a type of greed that may present itself when a husband and wife are at this threshold. And then along with this, the Quranic expression is that if a woman fears ill treatment from her husband, then there's no sin upon them to enter into a compromise. So the verse here says there's no sin upon them in entering into a compromise. What is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala saying here? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying that on the surface, this appears to be a type of vishwa. This appears to be some type of bribe of haram, where the husband is tempted by the fact that she forgive her dowry, and the wife will give up other claims that she has. Whatever rights she normally claims from her husband, she's willing to give those things up. And in spite of that, he still has this bond of marriage. He still enjoys the rights of the marriage. But this statement of the Quran is making it clear that this doesn't count as a bribe. Instead, when we consider the circumstances where the parties that are involved surrender their own rights and agree to some moderation in the middle, some type of middle ground that both of them are actually sustainably able to handle, this is considered something that's permissible. And the Prophet ﷺ, in his own life, in his own marriage, we see the same precedent. When the Prophet married Juwayriya radiallahu anha, initially he made the decision to divorce her. But she said that she would like to be one of his wives in Jannah. She didn't want divorce. So she came to the Prophet and forewent all of her rights as a wife. Said, I want nothing from you. I don't want food, I don't want water, I don't want housing, I don't need a marital relationship. I just want to remain in bond with you as a wife, so that in Jannah, I will be your wife. I will have that honor. And of course, this is no ordinary divorce, which ex is okay with being divorced and then chooses to forego every element of a marital life just to remain married to that person. This was a special honor that she understood was extended to her by the Prophet ﷺ's generosity, and the Prophet ﷺ chose to maintain a marriage with her until she died, on her request. So this was a type of compromise the Prophet ﷺ agreed to. And in general, the rule is that whenever it is that a compromise is made between husband and wife, there are some things that compromises can be made in, and there are some things that compromises cannot be made in. The general rule of thumb is that the Prophet ﷺ said, كل صلح جائز بين المسلمين إلا صلح أحل حراما أو حرم حلالا والمسلمون على شروطهم إلا شرطا حرم حلالا. He said that the general rule is that every type of compromise is permissible between Muslims except for a compromise in which something haram is being made halal or something halal is being made haram. That's the general rule. Now, and if both parties agree to that compromise, they're both obligated to follow it. So for example, it's not okay for a husband to enter into a compromise with his wife on the condition that he'll also get to marry her sister. Because that's something that the Quran forbade anyways, for two sisters to be married to at the same time. This is haram. Or imagine a husband marries on the condition, or compromises on the condition that he will refuse to care for his other wives if he decides to marry someone else. So he effectively is making a compromise with one person regarding the rights of another person. It's something that Islam doesn't permit. So in the hadith that I quoted, every type of compromise is halal as in the general sense. Imam Hanifa, based off of this hadith, he deduced that all kinds of compromises are permissible. For example, outside of marriage, if a person owes someone $1,000, the compromise can be arrived at and they can say, well, I'll give you $500 instead. Or I'll give you $1,500 instead. It seems as though $500 is being traded for $1,000. It seems like this is a riba transaction in which money is being traded for an uneven amount of money in return. But this is actually a compromise that's being made that Islam permits. You owe someone $1,000, you can't pay them back. Or you refuse to acknowledge that you even owe them $1,000 and they take you to court. You can settle on paying them $500 to end the story, to end this claim. And if they agree to it, they agree to it. So based off that hadith, there are many implications of this outside of marriage as well. Lastly, we concluded with the idea that وَإِن تُحْسِنُوا وَتَتَّقُوا فَإِنَّ اللَّهَ كَانَ بِمَا تَعْمَلُونَ خَبِيرًا. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala at the end of that first ayah, He says that if you show ihsan, if you show good conduct, وَتَتَّقُوا, and if you maintain taqwa of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala throughout the course of your relationship. This is being mentioned in the context of what? If a person is in a marriage relationship, and let's imagine your spouse is unable to fulfill their needs. Let's imagine your spouse is unable to fulfill their rights. Let's imagine as a result of that, the husband or the wife, whoever rights are being compromised, they come to the compromise that you no longer have to fulfill these rights. Right? A wife says you no longer have to house me because you're in school. I understand. It's difficult for you to pay student loans and pay for separate housing for them. Whoever's rights are being compromised on, that person is being spoken to by Allah, that if you show ihsan during the course of that compromise and you maintain taqwa and you still fulfill the rights of the other, you still maintain good conduct and don't treat the other like they are like a half spouse or someone that's not worthy of your attention or worthy of your life, but rather from an Islamic perspective, you do whatever you can in return. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says He knows what you're doing. He doesn't give a reward. He doesn't say He'll reward you immensely. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala simply says Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows what you're doing. So the hint in that ayah is that sometimes we don't get what we want in our relationships, but we still put up the better end of the deal. We still maintain the taqwa of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in effect is saying, you're not even capable of fathoming what Allah would do for you. So just know that He knows. He just says He knows what you're doing. Therefore, leave it to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to compensate you far better than you think you deserve to be compensated for putting up with less than ideal circumstances. But you're not putting up with them just to prove a point to someone else. You wouldn't be rewarded in that instance. You wouldn't do it out of ego and pride just to show the person you're the better one. But you're doing it simply because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in your role, in your relationship, in life, has put you in a position, and your position is what? To maintain taqwa, irrespective of how you're being treated with, dealt with. Yes, you can't handle it, you have the right to leave. You have the right to demand your marriage be annulled. But if you decide to stay, and you decide to stay with ihsan, know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is watching, and know that whatever it is that you think you deserve, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows better than you. And He's aware of everything that you're undergoing in these less than ideal circumstances. And that's an important point to understand, because no marriage has ideal circumstances. Every marriage has confusion from both ends, expectations that are unmet, and presumption that oftentimes is harmful, presuming that someone else is capable of rendering to you exactly what it is your life desire is. That's an unrealistic standard, and it is something that every human being will undoubtedly at some point falter in. And if we maintain taqwa through that process, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's promise is true, that He will most certainly give us whatever it is that He believes is best for us. And the Prophet ﷺ is the best example of that he married numerous wives. He understood that as a human being, his capacity to render justice between those spouses was limited. Despite being the best of human beings, he understood that from the position of taqwa, there's always something better to do. Therefore, hold yourself in high standard. Always be consumed with what it is you're doing. And as a result of that, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will beautify your character. So he made dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala saying, Allahumma hada qasmi fima amliku. Faghfir li fima tamliku wa la amliku. He said, oh Allah, this is my giving equality to my spouses with regards to whatever it is I can handle, with regards to whatever it is that I have control over in terms of my emotions. So forgive me and overlook me with regards to every single time that I have rendered inequality to my spouses with respect to something that I had no control over. This was a manifestation of his taqwa, his relationship. So we ask that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant us emotional control, first and foremost, and grant us the capacity to maintain perspective that He is the one for whom we even engage in relationships, and that these relationships are solely and entirely consumed with the responsibilities that are demanded of us, not just by our spouse, but by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.